I don't know how much time I have before they notice I'm speaking to you. But if you're hearing this, if my voice has reached your ears, you need to understand something. The walls are not empty. They're watching us. They've always been watching us. I used to laugh at people who claimed their houses were haunted. I'd roll my eyes whenever I read some internet post about strange noises in the night or shadows moving across the hallway. I thought it was all superstition, fairy tales for the lonely. But that was before I moved into the old house on Green Hollow Road. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. I had just taken a new job in a nearby town, and the house was cheap. Too cheap, in fact. The real estate agent gave me some excuse about the property being hard to sell because of its age, but I could tell she was hiding something. The way her eyes darted to the corners of the room, the hesitation in her voice. If I had been smarter, I would have paid attention, but I didn't. I signed the lease. I carried my things inside. And that very first night, I began to hear them. It started with scratching. Soft at first, like the faintest brush of fingernails across wood. I remember sitting in the living room unpacking boxes when I heard it for the first time. A slow, deliberate scrape coming from inside the wall behind me. At first, I told myself it was just mice. Old houses like this were bound to have vermin, but the sound didn't move the way an animal would. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause, as if something inside the wall was trying to trace a pattern or spell something out. I knocked against the plaster, half joking, half scared. The scratching stopped immediately. That night, I woke up to a different sound, a whisper. I thought it was the wind. The old house groaned and shifted as the temperature dropped, and every creak echoed through the empty halls. But then I heard it again, closer this time. Not the wind, not the house, a whisper sliding out from the cracks in the wall beside my bed. I pressed my ear against the plaster, heart hammering in my chest. At first, it was just static, like distant radio chatter. Then the words formed. I'll never forget the first thing they said to me. We see you. I don't know how long I sat frozen in bed, staring at that wall. I told myself it was a dream, a trick of half sleep. But when the morning came, I saw something I couldn't explain. The wallpaper was peeling away in the corner, and behind it, there were holes, tiny pin-sized openings I hadn't noticed before. And when I leaned closer, God help me, I thought I saw something moving inside, something wet, something alive. Over the next few days, the noises grew worse, scratching, whispering. The sense of being watched every moment I was home. Even during the day, when the sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, I could feel eyes following me, always from the walls, always just out of sight. I tried to convince myself I was paranoid. I buried myself in work, spent long hours at the office, avoided the house as much as possible. But eventually, I had to sleep. I had to return. And every time I did, they were waiting. The turning point came on the fifth night. I had been tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep with that suffocating pressure of unseen gazes pressing in from every side. In frustration, I grabbed a flashlight and went to inspect the walls again. I tore at the wallpaper with shaking hands, peeling it back in strips, and that's when I saw them. Eyes. Dozens of them, embedded in the rotting wood and plaster, staring back at me with a wet, glistening shine. They blinked, one after another, like grotesque stars flickering in the dark. Some were bloodshot, some milky white with cataracts, some impossibly clear and blue, and they were all fixed on me. I stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment I thought I would faint. But then they started to move. Not the eyes themselves. The wall, the surface bulged, rippled, as though something behind it was shifting, pushing forward. The eyes rolled in their sockets, tracking me as I staggered to the corner. And then I heard the voice again. This time it was louder, clearer, resonating from every direction at once. We see you. We know you. You belong to us. I don't remember running to the door, but suddenly I was outside, barefoot, shivering in the cold night air. I spent the rest of the night in my car, staring at the house, too afraid to go back inside. When morning came, I told myself it had been a hallucination. That stress and lack of sleep were playing tricks on me, that maybe I had eaten something bad or breathed in mold spores from the old walls. But when I forced myself to return, the wallpaper was gone. Every inch of it, torn away in strips, as though something inside had ripped its way free. And the holes were bigger now, large enough for me to see them clearly, hundreds of eyes, watching, waiting. I can't explain why I didn't leave right then and there. Any sane person would have. But there was something about those eyes, something hypnotic. It felt wrong to look away, as if doing so would anger them, as if they demanded my attention. And I gave it to them. God forgive me, I couldn't stop staring. That was the beginning of the end. They didn't stop watching me after that night. If anything, the eyes grew bolder. At first, they seemed content to simply observe, blinking wetly in the half-darkness as I stumbled through my days, sleepless and jittery. But soon, I realized they were testing me, probing, learning how I would react. Every time I passed through the hallway, I felt their gaze following me. Every time I tried to eat, I could feel them staring at the food in my hands, almost hungering for it. And when I lay in bed, pretending to sleep, I could hear the faint squelch of eyelids sliding open in the walls around me. They never closed. Not all of them. Not at once. I tried covering them. I hung blankets over the walls, taped black trash bags across the worst sections. For a few hours, it worked. I felt relief, however fragile, as though I'd blinded them. But when I woke the next morning, the coverings were gone, shredded from the inside out. The holes were bigger now, ragged edges where plaster had given way, and in the center of the largest cluster, something new had appeared, a mouth. It wasn't fully formed, not yet, just a wet slit in the wood, raw and pink like fresh wounds. But when I leaned closer, gagging at the stench of rot, it moved. It whispered to me with a voice that was mine. Stay. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. That was the first time I understood. This thing wasn't just watching me. It wanted me. The next days blurred together in a haze of terror and exhaustion. I stopped going to work. I stopped eating, stopped showering, stopped being human. My whole existence shrank down to a single question. What are they? I tried researching. I tore through old books at the library, searched the town archives, even asked the neighbors, though most of them avoided me, their eyes darting nervously when I mentioned the house. One old woman finally gave me an answer. Her hands shook as she told me in a whisper, "That house has always been wrong. People don't last long inside. They say the walls remember, they see, they swallow." When I pressed her for more, she refused to speak another word. She just crossed herself and shut the door in my face. That night, I heard my name for the first time. Not whispered, not muttered in the dark, shouted. It came from every wall, every corner of the house, vibrating through the floorboards. Daniel! I froze in the kitchen, heart slamming against my ribs. Nobody knew I was here. Nobody should have known my name. But the walls did. I dropped the plate I was holding, watched it shatter on the floor, and then the eyes blinked in unison, hundreds of them, as the mouth in the wall opened wider. Daniel, we see you. We love you. We need you. I don't know why I didn't run. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I was already too far gone, too entangled in their gaze. My legs felt like stone, my mind wrapped in fog. The eyes rolled upward, blinking slowly, almost pleading. And I swear to you, I felt something inside me answer. A tug in my chest. A connection. It wasn't just that they were watching me. I was watching them, too. That was the night the house changed. The walls no longer felt solid. They pulsed when I touched them, soft and warm, as if they were flesh. I pressed my palm against the plaster, and I could feel a faint heartbeat thrumming inside. And when I closed my eyes, I saw things. Not dreams, not visions, memories, people, faces, dozens of them, screaming, crying, tearing at the walls from the inside, their eyes bulging as the plaster closed around them. The walls were filled with them, souls trapped and absorbed. And now they were part of the thing that watched me. I woke gasping, drenched in sweat, with my hands still against the wall, and the wall was warm. From then on, the whispers never stopped. They filled every room, every moment of silence, until I couldn't tell where my thoughts ended and theirs began. They told me things, secrets I shouldn't know. They whispered the endings of books I'd never read, the thoughts of people walking past outside, the way the world would end. Sometimes they laughed, sometimes they wept, but mostly they begged. Join us, Daniel. Look deeper. See as we see. I stopped leaving the house. The outside world felt unreal, like a bad photograph compared to the vivid, all-consuming presence within these walls. longer mattered. Sleep no longer mattered. Only the eyes mattered. They grew. Every day they spread further, bursting through plaster, bulging through the floorboards, peering down from the ceiling. I couldn't walk a single step without feeling their gaze drilling into me. And the mouths multiplied too. Dozens of them, whispering, moaning, sighing in hunger. Some of them began to take on my voice. Others spoke in voices I recognized from those visions, voices of the dead, voices of the swallowed. On the 14th night, something reached out. I had been lying on the couch, staring up at the cracked ceiling, when I felt a hand brush against my arm. I screamed, leaping up, but there was nothing there, only the wall, slick with moisture. And then I saw it. A shape pushing outward from inside the plaster. Not just an eye, not just a mouth, but a whole face. It pressed forward, straining the surface like plastic wrap, lips moving silently at first, then breaking into a scream I could feel in my bones. The wall split open, something wet and pale pushed through. Fingers, a hand, reaching for me. I don't remember what happened next. Only fragments, running, stumbling through the hallway, the eyes spinning wildly in their sockets as they tracked me. The mouths shrieking in dozens of overlapping voices. I locked myself in the bathroom, shoving towels under the door to block them out. I sat there for hours, maybe days, rocking back and forth as they whispered from the other side. But the whispers weren't outside the door anymore. They were inside my head. Don't resist, Daniel. You're one of us already. And the worst part, a part of me believed them. I don't know how long I stayed in that bathroom. Time doesn't exist in that house anymore. The clocks had stopped days earlier, their hands frozen as if even time itself refused to move forward inside those walls. I sat there in the suffocating dark listening. The whispers never stopped. Some were coaxing, gentle, like lovers pulling me closer. Others were sharp, commanding, like 100 voices screaming my name at once. And then there were the eyes. Even behind the locked door, I could feel them, pressing against the plaster, bulging through the tile, blinking in perfect unison, always watching. When I finally opened the door, I expected the hallway to be gone. And in a way, it was. The house had changed. The wallpaper had dissolved into pulsing, wet tissue. The floorboards squirmed beneath my feet, soft and spongy like muscle. The air was damp and warm, reeking of blood and mildew. And everywhere, the eyes had multiplied, thousands of them, covering every surface, stacked on top of each other, blinking in waves like the tide. Their gaze hit me like a physical weight, pinning me where I stood. The mouths opened in chorus. Join us, Daniel. I ran. I don't even remember choosing to. My body just moved, instinct dragging me toward the front door. But the house was alive now, fully awake, and it wasn't going to let me go. The walls rippled, stretching like lungs inhaling. The floor buckled beneath me, sending me crashing to my knees. From the plaster, hands began to push through, pale, grasping, clawing at my clothes. Fingers hooked into my skin, cold and slimy, dragging me toward the wall. I screamed and tore free, blood slicking my arms where their nails raked across me. I stumbled forward, my eyes locked on the door. Just a few feet away. Salvation. But when I reached for the knob, the wood beneath my hand pulsed like flesh. The door wasn't wood anymore. It was a mouth. A massive gaping maw that opened wide, teeth unfolding like jagged knives. It wanted to swallow me whole. I stumbled back, gasping, heart hammering, and then I heard it, a voice unlike the others. Deeper, older, reverberating through the entire house like the growl of some buried god. You are ours. The eyes widened, unblinking, shining with hunger. The mouths shrieked in unison, and the walls began to close in. I tried to fight. I grabbed a shard of broken wood from the floor, swinging wildly at the hands reaching for me. I stabbed at the eyes, and they burst with wet pops, oozing thick black fluid. The mouths wailed, the walls shook, but still they pressed forward, hot relentless. Every time I destroyed one eye, 3 more opened. Every time I silenced one mouth, another split opened somewhere else, howling my name. I was drowning in them, smothered by them. And then, something inside me broke. I stopped running. I stopped fighting. And for the first time, I looked at them, not with fear, but with surrender. The whispers grew softer. The hands released their grip. The walls pulsed with a steady, comforting rhythm. And the eyes, thousands of them, blinked slowly in unison, as if sighing in relief. The oldest voice rumbled again, softer now, almost tender. See as we see. And I did. When I opened my eyes again, the house was gone. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it had never been a house at all. I could see everything, the spaces between walls, the black veins running through the plaster, the endless tunnels of flesh stretching deep into the earth. And in those tunnels, countless faces pressed against the surface, their eyes bulging, mouths screaming silently. I understood then, they weren't haunting the house. They were the house. And now, so was I. I don't know if my body ever left that room. I don't think it matters. What matters is that I can see you now. Yes, you. Sitting there, listening, thinking you're safe in your own home, thinking your walls are empty, solid, lifeless. They're not. Look closely. Put your ear against the plaster tonight, just before you fall asleep. Listen, do you hear it? That faint scratching, that whisper too soft to catch? That's us, and soon it will be you, too.